big story that we are tracking here this evening, and seems like the government just before the new year has planned to give some bad news for the e-commerce players. They've gone ahead and tightened some norms and regulations for e-commerce players, and a move that is going to hit the likes of Flipkart and Amazon, because now they cannot sell products of the companies in which they have stake. In fact, DIPP in a regulation today, in a press release today, in fact, they have gone ahead and said that entities can only control 25% of the purchases from its entities. Let me take it across to my colleague Rahul Dayama, who's joining in for more details. Rahul, this is definitely going to hurt the likes of Flipkart and Amazon. Who is this press release really aimed at providing benefit to? And the larger question, what happens to the existing subsidiaries of the likes of Flipkart and Amazon?
Ruchi, the big trigger really is that we have seen smaller sellers increasingly complain to the Competition Commission of India, All India Vendors Association, that Amazon and Flipkart have been favoring their own subsidiaries on the platform to an extent that smaller sellers are taking a hit. And remember, the FDI e-commerce policy clearly states that while FDI is allowed in the marketplace, really in inventory-led model, it is not allowed. So if by default the likes of, to give you a sense really, Amazon's Cloudtail is a big platform player, Aperio also, that Amazon really has a stake. For Flipkart, you know, it has stakes in RetailNet and Omnitech Retail that are its big sellers on the platform. So going ahead now, Amazon and Flipkart will have to ensure that not more than 25% of the sales really go from here. The tweaked guidelines indicate that e-tailers will have to ensure that they have to maintain fair play on the platform and really maintain an arm's length distance while offering discounts to these sellers. So the big takeaway really is that Amazon and Flipkart cannot rely on their own subsidiaries to push products on the platform. Their private label business also is to be impacted, with the cap being at 25%. Rest of it is already known. They cannot influence pricing, so cashbacks, they have to be clear as to what they're offering buyers. So the big takeaway really will be that the hit is on the big sellers that these companies have a stake on, and by come Feb 1st, a deadline also for the first time being put in place, they will have to maintain a clear distinction. To give you a rough view, Cloudtail's annual revenue last year was 7,000 crore. So it's quite a massive business. Rough estimates up to 40% of their business is driven by them. So that will get impacted really.
Absolutely. In fact, let me take this across to Vaibhav Kakkar, who's joining in. He's a partner at Luthra & Luthra. Vaibhav, many thanks for speaking to us at ET now. You know, the government has gone ahead and DIPP has come out with a release once again. They've tweaked the norms and regulations for e-commerce company, and this is going to hurt the likes of Flipkart and Amazon, especially their subsidiary business, their private label business. How do you see this move? And you know, largely, are these changes really aimed at?
So hi there. I think these changes are pretty significant in the anvil of the new year. Some of these changes have been made in the backdrop of a lot of opposition and resistance from the traders, associations and lobbies. These changes, you know, if one was to look at them and try and sort of make sense of it, these changes are essentially, on the face of it, aimed to make the marketplaces far more genuine marketplaces. Because there's always been a talk that the online marketplace as a channel does offer somewhat of a regulatory arbitrage by allowing this whole animal of marketplace to function, which is not available as an avenue in the physical space, and therefore FDI in the physical multi-brand continues to be a challenge, whereas in marketplace it's flourishing. And the whole logic and the reasoning of a marketplace functioning as a genuine marketplace where they're only connecting sellers with buyers, that reasoning often used to get questioned. I think in the backdrop of elections and on the anvil, as well as a traders lobby putting fair degree of pressure, they've made some significant changes in the policy. I think the few ones that certainly merit a lot of attention is that they've gone ahead to say that a vendor is supposed to be not only owning the product that actually gets sold in the marketplace, but he should also control that inventory. And if the marketplace is controlling that inventory, then that would be seen as if it's inventory-driven marketplace in which FDI is prohibited, which in effect means that marketplace entities going forward cannot exercise any degree of control over the actual supply of the products. That's, I think, fairly significant. There's also a change to the effect that insofar as any after-sales delivery and customer satisfaction of the products is concerned, that has to be solely handled by the sellers. I think both these changes are of an immense implication for the ongoing marketplaces. The other big change that's happened is that the marketplace companies also being restricted in a way that it states that if any of its group companies are selling more than 25% of what the vendor is selling on the marketplace, then in that situation, it will again not qualify as a marketplace, but will be seen as an inventory-driven FDI marketplace where it's prohibited. So to give you an example, Amazon or Flipkart,
Vaibhav, in fact, you led me to my next question, which is the fact that you're pointing out that the new regulations say that the entity can take up only 25% of the purchases from, its subsidiary. Given the fact that the likes of Cloudtail contribute almost 40% to the business of Amazon. Similarly, for Flipkart, their subsidiary, has a fair share that they're contributing to Flipkart sales as well. The impact that you see that this is going to have on these big giants?
Absolutely. And in fact, let me just break this down. There are two levels of impact. One, what they have said is that the wholesale arms of these marketplaces cannot be selling more than 25% for what the vendor is purchasing. So Amazon wholesale or Flipkart wholesale, they were supplying products in huge volumes and value to a number of vendors who were selling on the marketplace. Now they've clearly restricted that and said that vendors cannot purchase more than 25% from group entities of the marketplace. So that's one major restriction. And the other big restriction is that said that the marketplace entity or any of the group companies of the marketplace entity cannot own a single percentage of equity in any company which is a vendor on the marketplace. So that sort of ties into the whole point of players such as Cloudtail, or in other marketplaces where there is indirect foreign investment. It remains to be seen that when they've said no equity participation, would that also include indirect equity participation? Because to the best of our understanding, in some of the marketplace seller entities, the foreign investment is not there at the direct level, but it is one layer above. So will that also get hit by this restriction? One needs to see. But clearly the intent of the policymakers is that the marketplace has to be a real and a genuine one, where the scope or the relevance of the marketplace in driving sales has to be kept limited.
Vaibhav, what do you make of the timeline that has been given? Because these new rules are effective from the 1st of February.
So clearly, I think this is a fairly short timeline that's been provided for. This will require significant, my sense is this will require significant amount of restructuring by some of the existing marketplaces. So I do anticipate a flurry of applications for seeking clarifications as well as an extension of time, because as I've just explained, it has significant ramifications for the current business model that marketplaces are running.
My last question to you, Vaibhav, before I let you go, the new norms also talk about how you cannot go ahead and do exclusive tie-ups, the kind of larger implications that it will have on a lot of these participants who are looking at specific tie-ups with either a Flipkart or an Amazon. We've seen in case of MI how they first went ahead with one e-commerce player and then started putting up their phones on the other network as well. What do you make of these changes which are being talked about now?
I think that's a very, very valid question, and the point that you picked up from the policy change. I think this is where I do believe that the government has gone a little overboard and has gone a little over excessive. In order to sort of ensure and streamline and bring this discipline of a genuine marketplace, they have actually taken away the party autonomy that comes with any business model. If as a Xiaomi or if as an Apple, I want to tie up with one particular marketplace because it to my mind, it offers better commercial value, I should be allowed to do so. And somehow, to my mind, that kind of a restriction that a vendor cannot tie up exclusively with one marketplace, it does not even serve the objective that this particular policy change seeks to achieve, which of course has not been clearly also laid down in black and white. So I do believe that this is somewhat excessive. It is taking away from party autonomy, and it's not clearly in line with any intent that one could have deciphered from this policy announcement. So I do believe that some of these changes that have happened will certainly merit re-evaluation in the coming days.
All right, all these changes may need some re-evaluation. That's a word coming in from Weber. But Weber, we are, very short on time on this leg of the show. My last question to you, the ministry's notification also says that cashbacks that are provided by a group of companies of a marketplace entity to buyers should be fair and non-discriminatory. So now DIPP is also talking about what kind of discounts that can be given by any of these platforms, whether it is Flipkart and Amazon. Is it right on their part to, guide what kind of discounts should be given to consumers?
So I think this has got its origins and background in the context of the fact that the earlier policy did very clearly state that the marketplace entity should not indirectly influence the price at which products are being sold. But what had happened was thereafter a number of traders associations had represented to the government a number of times saying that that particular policy is not being followed in letter and spirit. Now, as a result, what has happened is that the government has gone on to become extremely prescriptive to address that so-called perceived abuse. I think what might have happened is a simple case of over excessive legislation, simply because people have complained that the earlier construct is not being complied with. In a sense, if one has to look at it, it does not change the overall nature of the restriction that was already there, but getting this prescriptive, I would tend to concur with you, is avoidable.
All right. On that note, Vaibhav Kakkar, many thanks for taking your time out and speaking to us at ET Now.